What happens when a husband silently uncovers his wife's betrayal and decides to take everything she has? A story of cold, calculated revenge that no one saw coming. Watch how the quietest ones can break the loudest hearts. I always thought I knew my wife. After all, we were married for over a decade. We had a comfortable life, a beautiful home, and two kids who meant the world to us. But sometimes the truth is buried under the surface, and it takes something to shake you awake. The first sign wasn't anything obvious. No dramatic phone calls, no unusual late nights, no whispers. It was the small things. The look in her eyes when she spoke to me, a little too distant. The way she smiled just a little too much when her phone buzzed. But I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to believe that after all these years, everything we built could crumble because of one selfish mistake. Then came the texts. She left her phone unlocked once, something she'd never done before. I knew I should have turned away, but curiosity got the best of me. There it was, plain as day, a message from someone I didn't know. The name didn't mean anything, but the words hit like a punch to the gut. I miss you, can't wait to see you tonight. I wanted to scream, to confront her right then and there. But instead, I stayed quiet. I let the truth seep in, and I began to watch. For weeks, I watched her closely, studying her every move. I became a ghost in my own home, living with the knowledge of what she was doing, but not letting her know I had uncovered her secret. I didn't make a scene. I didn't lash out or demand explanations. Instead, I let her believe she was getting away with it. Every day I saw her go about her life, acting as though everything was fine, while all the while I was planning my response. You might wonder why I didn't just confront her. Why didn't I just walk away or have a heart-to-heart? It's simple. I wanted to make her feel the weight of her betrayal. I wanted her to understand what it felt like to live with the guilt of her actions, just as I had lived with the pain of knowing the truth. I had no intention of letting her get away with it. I waited, and when the time was right, I made my move. It wasn't some grand gesture or explosive confrontation. No, my revenge was more subtle, more devastating. I started by documenting everything. I kept track of her lies, the times she went out, the places she said she would be. I even followed her a few times. I needed proof, something solid. When I had enough, I went to our bank accounts, our joint investments, everything we had worked on together. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was financial. While she thought I was oblivious, I quietly moved our savings into my name. I transferred our joint accounts into separate ones, ensuring she couldn't touch what we had built. I kept the house, every asset, every material possession, everything that mattered was now under my control. But that's not where it ended. No. The final part of my plan was when I decided to confront her on my terms. She came home one evening after another work trip and found me sitting at the kitchen table looking over some papers. She didn't suspect a thing. I looked at her with a calmness I had never felt before. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady. She sat down, clueless, thinking this was just another conversation about us, another attempt to fix things. But the truth was there was nothing left to fix. I handed her the papers, bank statements, transfer confirmations, a list of assets. "I know everything," I said. She stared at the papers, the color draining from her face. "You've been playing me for months, haven't you? While you were out, pretending everything was fine, I was quietly watching. I knew what you were doing." The silence that followed was deafening. She didn't know what to say. The shock was too much. I didn't need to say anything else. I let her take it all in, realizing the empire we built together was now mine alone. I filed for divorce the next day, and I made sure I got everything, every penny, every possession, the house, the cars, everything. She was left with nothing, not even the dignity of a clean break. She tried to fight back, of course, but by then it was too late. I had already won. People will say I was cruel, that I should have taken the high road. But what's the high road when someone you loved, trusted, and built a life with betrays you in the worst way possible? This wasn't about anger, it was about justice. She didn't deserve my pity, my understanding, or anything else. In the end, I walked away with everything, and she was left with nothing. No amount of apologies, no grand gestures could fix what she had done. As for me, I got my life back, and I didn't just survive, I thrived. I moved on, and I found peace in knowing that sometimes silence is the loudest revenge.